Ginger Jeffries is live in El Cajon with a big thank you to those nurses coming up. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, yes, the message is very clear. Nurses rock. As you can see, it is Nurse Appreciation, and that's exactly what they're doing here at St. Paul's. We are appreciating the most trusted profession in the United States. Did you guys know that? You are the most trusted professionals. Yeah, we're honoring nurses this week, folks. Some facts and figures and some words of wisdom from the very best coming your way in a live report. You're watching Good Morning San Diego. Yay, nurses!
Okay, it is National Nurses Week, so today St. Paul Senior Services is celebrating all of its nurses at each of its centers.
So Ginger Jeffries is live in El Cajon with more on how they're celebrating our nurses.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ginger.
Hey, Ginger.
You're in there
Hey,
somewhere.
good morning, and yeah, do they know how to party? Look at all of this. You are flooded in a sea of pink and gold and white. And why is that? Because here at St. Paul's, they love their nurses, and that's exactly what we're doing, not just today, but the entire week long. America, we need to stand up and say thank you, nurses, for all the hard work they do. I want to show you the kind of party that's going on here. Oh, wait. See these roses? Participants of the program. They're going to be giving these out to the nurses coming up. You're going to get to see that. But as you can see, they've got quite a nice layout for all of these very hard-working nurses. Look at all of them enjoying a breakfast. They've got special treats on the table. It is decorated beautifully. Look at these adorable donuts. And yeah, you can't miss it everywhere you look. National Nurses Week. A couple of fun facts for you. Do you realize on the average shift for a nurse, and keep in mind, they don't work 3 hours or 4 hours or even 8 hours, an average 12-hour shift, nurses can walk up to 5 miles. That is incredible. Hey, look at this. You know, since we love coffee and donuts, check this out. Nurses rock. They even have the special coffees for them. My man Jeffrey back here is serving up these nurses with some much-needed caffeine, because this is really, nurses are really the backbone of our medical industry. And so this week, we really want to honor folks like Vina here. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, we're talking all about nurses, and I was giving a little bit of factoids about it. #1 most trusted profession in the United States. The poll was, they asked folks, who do you trust? Doctors, politicians, news reporters, firefighters, you name it, and nurses came out with an 85% approval rate. Is that any surprise to you?
No, not really. Not really. That's what we strive for. That's what we're about.
Let's talk about that. Okay, so you've been a nurse for 8 years, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, let's talk about why you personally decided to become a nurse.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to be in a profession where I was giving back to people, and nursing was just a natural go-to for me.
Do you ever get tired? Because, I mean, I just said you guys walk up to 5 miles on an average shift. I mean, you can never get tired, right?
Well, I wouldn't say never get tired, but you do get tired at the end of your shift. You don't have time to get tired before that. Yes, it does get a little tiring, but you always have in the back of your mind why you're doing this, why you're in this field, and it is all about who you're helping and who you're serving.
Nurses make up roughly 3 million folks across the U.S. Roughly, that is the same amount of people that live in Los Angeles County, and the profession continues to grow. Why is there such a huge need for nurses?
Well, nurses it's a very diverse profession. You can be serving pediatrics, you can be a community health nurse. My chosen field is geriatrics. You can really do anything with nursing. So there's all different levels of professions with nursing. You could be a nurse practitioner. So it really is just a field that you can grow in, expand in, and, you know, go in and out of different areas.
So you work with seniors here at St. Paul's. At the end of the day, what do you reflect on?
I reflect on what I did that improved somebody's life during that day.
Do you have a specific story, maybe a hallmark moment of your 8-year career?
Well, there's so many. To be honest, I'm very lucky where I work. We get to see and work with a population that really does need our assistance. So there's a very strong feeling at the end of every day that I've helped somebody to remain independent or to improve their life. The one that comes to mind immediately immediately is we had a participant that before she came into our program, she wasn't able to see, very poor vision. After she enrolled in the program and we were able to refer her out, she, through a couple of operations, she now can see. And she's just, it's a whole new life for her. And for us, that's very satisfying and gratifying to know that we helped her to have a new life.
You have helped so many. You are going to continue to help so many. And I just want to zero in, Brent, if you can zero in on all these nurses, the men and women who make up the medical backbone of society. These are the folks that we are appreciating this week. But you know what? We really need to give them a hats off all year long because, again, growing profession, roughly 3 million here in the U.S., and the #1 most trusted profession. I've never seen news reporters and anchors at the top of those kinds of reports. I think we're right above politicians. We are live at El Cajon at the St. Paul Senior Services. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Taking care of the hands that take care of us.
Exactly. Yeah. So appreciate the hard work they do and what they have to put up with. Thanks, Ginger.
No doubt.
Well, it is National Nurses Week, so today St. Paul's Senior Services is celebrating all of its nurses at each of its centers.
Ginger Jeffries is live in El Cajon with more on this. Ginger, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, the party is underway. As you can see, we've got the balloons, we've got the nurses, we've got a full-on celebration, but I want you to hear why. Now, this is one of the notes written to the nurses from one of the participants here at St. Paul Senior Services. This is what they say to their nurses. May you all have a day full of blessings, and may you all know how special and how much we appreciate all of you. All of your hard work does not go unrecognized. Thank you all for what you do. Happy Nurses Day. And that's what today is literally all about. These nurses who give their blood, sweat, and tears to help out the entire medical community. As you can see, we're giving out some roses right now, but we also have a very special certificate of recognition that Cheryl Wilson, the CEO of PACE and St. Paul Senior Services, is going to do for you right now. Take it over.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here today recognizing our nurses. Over 40% of our 650 workforce are nurses. I am a nurse, and so I'm very proud to be here today to help to celebrate. We also want to recognize some of our legislative assembly persons who have made proclamations to honor our nursing staff. We have proclamations from Todd Gloria, from Randy Vorpel, from Assemblymember Shirley Weber, and also from Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez. And we are so happy and proud that they are recognizing all of our wonderful nurses today. Nurses are the backbone of healthcare. They are the glue that holds it all together, and they should never, ever be underestimated. They work so hard, and I'm just so proud of all of our nurses here at St. Paul Senior Services and St. Paul's PACE.
Very well said. So go ahead with that as we continue to talk about some of the amazing work that nurses do. Did you know on an average shift, average 12-hour shift, nurses can walk up to 5 miles a day? And just like you heard, they are the backbone of the medical community. You're going to hear from the medical director of St. Paul's in just a minute, but right now we want to talk to Kim, who is the director of facilities here. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, we're talking about your nurses and your staff. You know, it's been fun to just get to watch them. You know, as some of your participants, they're moving around, they're writing these notes, they're eating, and you know what? It's like the nurses read their mind, and they already know to go in, jump in, and help out. What's it like working here?
It is fabulous. St. Paul's PACE is a wonderful place to work. We love our nurses. We love our participants. It's just great.
What about the growing industry? You know, I mentioned earlier that nursing, there's 3 million nurses in the U.S., but it's also one of the fastest growing professions, expected to go up by at least 15%. Talk to me about the need and diversity of what nurses do.
Oh, the need is so wide. We struggle sometimes just being able to hire the nursing staff. So geriatrics, people that want to work with seniors, is such a high need for this area and for the state of California, actually. So it is definitely a growing population that we need more nurses.
So then what would be some of the qualities that you look for in a nurse? Because, you know, typically, you know, it all conjures up in your mind it's going to be a woman, right? But that's not the case.
Oh, not at all. We love male nurses as well. We're looking for people that are compassionate, that love seniors, who want to help the population that we serve. You know, the skills they learn in school, but we want to have nurses that want to be here and that want to serve our senior population.
And you can truly see it as Brent is showing some of these nurses getting their roses from the participants here. You know, the hugs and the smiles on the faces and the true admiration for the job that they do. Joining me right now, this is Dr. Victor Lee. I'm going to interrupt you as you're handing out the roses. You know, coming from the medical director, how important is the group standing behind you are all these nurses?
Oh, they're critical. They are the soul of our clinics. Without them, we cannot take care of all these patients.
You know, you see one patient, but that same patient probably sees how many nurses, how often?
Well, they probably see about 4 or 5 on a daily basis. They go to home care. We go to their homes. They go to the clinic. They go to the day center. They go to their family meetings, and so they probably 4 or 5 nurses will see them each day.
Could you do your job without the help of all these folks? Take a look, all these folks standing behind you, and keep in mind they're standing right behind you.
No, it will be impossible.
Yeah.
See how complex our patients are, how frail they are. It would be impossible for me as a doctor to take care of them without our nurses.
So what makes up a great nurse for you, coming from a physician?
Caring, dedicated, and sense of humor.
A sense of humor. See, I always thought it was just pizza and cards. That's what I've always heard, right? Oh, look. Listen, my sister-in-law is a neonatal intensive care nurse. I know pizza and cards too, right? All right, so as we leave you, I just want you to take a look at all these nurses. These are the nurses that, as you've heard it right here, they are the backbone right here. Take a look at these faces. You see enough of me. Yeah, this is the group that we are honoring today. Give it up for these nurses and all nurses on National Nurse Appreciation Week. You just heard that a lot of male nurses are now joining the game. So you're going to hear from this guy coming up in the next hour. We don't want to knock anybody over. See what I do to my poor photographer. So you're going to hear from him why he got involved in the nurse profession. That's coming up next hour. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
Ginger.
Thanks, Ginger. Well, it's National Nurses Week, so today St. Paul Senior Services is celebrating all its nurses at each of its centers.
Ginger Jeffries is live in El Cajon. With more on that, the nurses are getting their own photo booth, I take it, Ginger.
Absolutely. You nailed it, because it is a celebration out here. We are celebrating our nurses since it is National Nurses Week, with time that we can really give them our appreciation. So, of course, I had to have a little fun with this photo booth. But, you know, all morning, everything they are doing down to, look at this one, their coffee. I love this. From Mika Coffee, Nurses Rock. Jeffrey's the man who's been making these all morning long. What's the secret here?
Well, we're technically just, we love coffee, and then the funny thing is I worked for Pace before, and then so here I am full circle.
So you truly understand how nurses, anybody in the health profession, needs their cup of joe.
Yes, exactly. Every morning, you know, I'm in the healthcare prior, so every morning always cup of coffee. So it's, what's the best way to do it than the coffee, right?
I hear you. Amen to that one. Because what we're doing is we're honoring all these folks that you can see right over here. These are the backbone of the healthcare industry, and I'm talking about nurses that work day in and day out. 24 hours a day, there is a nurse somewhere doing something. In fact, it is the fastest growing profession. They expect it to be going up by at least 15%. There are roughly 3 million nurses in the U.S. That kind of accounts for about every single person who lives in L.A. And nurses, well, they are growing beyond just what you think of as the traditional nurse as a woman. Instead, one of the biggest demands in one of the most demanding professions is for men. So I've got one of the big men in the nurse's uniform. He is a registered nurse. He's been a registered nurse for 9 years. This is Eric. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Hey, you know, I love seeing you here. I mean, I honed in right on you when you got here because I love the fact that men are becoming nurses. Why did you decide to become a nurse?
Well, I personally came in because one person that I took care of, cared for, and he was basically the grump of all grumps. And but I came in every day smiling, every day same thing, how you doing, saying his name and treating him like a person. And I think after the 100th day of working with him, he finally smiled, finally opened up and told me things that no one else knew in the workplace that I was at, and totally just changed his life around. And I started hearing more about his wife, and his wife would come and, oh, you're Eric, and those kind of things. And it's the idea of making sure that they know that you treat them like a person and they'll treat you like a person.
Your relationship with a patient is very different than maybe the physicians, because you are, I want to say, more intimate because you connect with them more often. What kind of a person does it take to become a nurse?
I mean, the number one word is caring. It's just making sure that you care, making sure that you become a friend. Be a friend, and they'll be a friend back to you. And it's putting in dedication every day. You know, it's not easy being a nurse, and there are good days and there are definitely bad days. And you are seeing people, as everyone always says, you're seeing people on their worst days at times, and you have to make the best out of their worst day, and hopefully you get a smile back, and usually do.
Rather than making them feel worse, like, oh my gosh, you actually have to have that empathy and get in their soul and get in their shoes. If somebody were watching right now and they're thinking about becoming a nurse, what would you tell them as far as some recommendations?
It's the best decision I ever made. Obviously, the demand is there. It's great to be a part of it, but it's the lives that you change. It's making someone that wasn't able to walk before just because of a simple toenail, and you fix that for them by getting them the proper care, and they're up walking. And I just explained that story to a friend last night when he was asking me about my job, and it's just a simple thing of utilizing what they have, resources that they have, such as their insurance, and just bringing them to a point where they can live life. They can walk just like any other person out in the street.
Yeah, that toenail is not a big deal until it hurts. Then it becomes a very big deal. So as you can see, they are one-on-one here at St. Paul Senior Services. Nurses, they are, as I mentioned before, the backbone of our medical industry. So this week and beyond, just make sure we give our appreciation to our nurses. Officially happy Nurses Week here in the U.S. We are live at El Cajon at St. Paul Senior Services. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, they get a big nod, a big thank you, well deserved.
Day of celebration.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks,
you, Ginger.
Ginger.